right, welcome. Welcome to our What's My Role presentation for secretaries, treasurers, and point directors. My name is Hannah Gable. I teach elementary music in Wichita. I'm originally from Olathe, and I was a member of the Olathe Frontier Trail Junior High and the Olathe South High School KAY clubs. And this is my 8th year on the KLC staff.
My name is Trish Bandre. I'm the Reading Instructional Specialist for Salina Public Schools in Salina, Kansas. This will be my 33rd year on the camp staff. I was a 4-year camper as well and grew up in Garnett, so was a part of the Garnett High School KAY Club.
All right, we will get started. Congratulations, you have been elected by your peers to serve your KAY board as either secretary, treasurer, or point director. This is a huge honor to be elected by your peers. That means that they can trust you and that they believe you will lead your club very well and you will get your job done. Okay, so you might be wondering, what am I supposed to do? I'm really excited for this job, but I'm not really sure what a secretary or a treasurer or point director does. This presentation is here for you. So we're going to be talking about the specific things that a secretary, treasurer, and point director are in charge of in each club. It's really important that you communicate with your sponsor and your other board members about this because sometimes clubs have the responsibilities split up a little bit differently. So it's really important to have open communication about all of this. But this session will make your duties much clearer.
So if you've printed out the handout for this session, you'll recognize that this is the first page of the handout. If you haven't printed it, that's okay. What we'd like for you to do is to do a little bit of thinking, and if you're having the opportunity to watch this with some of your board members or some fellow club members, have an opportunity to talk. So what we want you to do is to pause your video for a little bit. We want you to read each of these statements. They're the same ones that are on the first page of the handout. Do a little bit of talking and decide whose responsibility you think each one of these items is. Is this something that the secretary does, something the treasurer does, or something that the point director does? And you might think that a couple different people do one of these jobs. So go ahead and think about it. If you're on your own, take some notes. You can just put the S or the T or the D, the PD in front, or talk with the people you're watching with and decide whose job you think it is. Okay, so now you've had some time to talk or to think about whose responsibility is whose, and we're going to reveal those one at a time and tell you where that responsibility falls and talk just a little bit more about it. So Hannah, would you want to go ahead and read that first statement? Let's see whose job it is, secretary, treasurer, or point director.
All right, so this person takes minutes of club meetings that become permanent records for the club. And this person is the secretary. So when we talk about minutes, that pretty much means notes. So the secretary, one of your jobs for your position is to take notes in all meetings so that you have permanent record of them and you can go back and find out what you discussed at each meeting and if you need it for later reference.
There are some clubs that I've been a part of that, you don't think that the minutes are that important, but if it's been a couple weeks since the meeting and some kind of question comes up, you go back to those minutes sometimes for the answers. It's really important that a club keeps good minutes so that you do have a record of what was decided and what was talked about.
Very important.
Yeah. So that next statement says, assists with fundraising in several ways. That responsibility belongs to the treasurer. The treasurer might be a part of brainstorming for fundraising, might be a part of collecting money of some kind, but that treasurer is going to really work in close contact with your school clerk or your school secretary, whoever takes care of the money at your school, because the treasurer really does not have anything to do with the bank account. So as far as keeping actual funds. Your school will actually write checks for things because the money comes through your school. But you're going to work very closely with that school clerk on all kinds of things, especially fundraising.
All right, our next one says keeps track of club members' participation in activities. And that role is of the point director. So we'll discuss this more in detail here in just a little bit, but it's going to be very important that the point director keep records of every person who participates in every activity, because that will determine the number of points your club is awarded for each activity, which will then help you achieve your goal for the end of the year.
Okay. The next statement says keeps close records of funds and makes sure bills are paid. That job does belong to the treasurer. So there again, you're going to know as the treasurer what kinds of bills need to be paid, but you're probably not going to actually write that check. So here's another instance where you'll need to keep close contact with your school clerk or your school secretary, but your job is to make sure that everything is paid on time.
All right, so distributes meeting minutes. This is a job for the secretary. So like we talked about just a minute ago, the secretary is in charge of taking minutes. The secretary will also have the job of getting those minutes out to the board members, the club members, the sponsor, the principal, whoever needs to see those notes. This can be done via email. You can print them out and have a physical copy. However is the best for your club, but it's the secretary's job to make sure that those minutes make it to the appropriate people.
All right. Keeps club members informed about goal progress. Yeah, this is the responsibility of the points director. You might have put the secretary as this person, and this person the secretary can help communicate information about your goal and what goal you're striving to achieve in your club. But this is something that's really set aside for the point director. And the point director is going to be the one who keeps track of what the club decides. So your club's going to determine whether or not you want to try to earn the red award, the blue award, or the gold award. And then those requirements will be posted somewhere. The point director will keep track of them maybe on a spreadsheet or in a notebook or on a bulletin board, but you will keep the members up to date as far as the progress towards your goal. So anytime clubs earn points, it's your job to make sure that the members know where you stand. You know, how close are you to your goal? I've even seen some clubs make like a thermometer with 0 to however many points and color it in as they go so that everyone can see very visually how close they are to achieving the award that they want to earn that year.
All right, communicating with club members about goal requirements. This is also a job for the point director. So like Trish was saying, you're going to come up with a goal, either the red, blue, or gold award for the school year. And each of those rewards has certain requirements that you need to meet. So it's the job of the point director to know those requirements really well and make sure that you communicate them with your board and your club so that they know the importance of the participation and of attending camp and attending the regional and unit conferences and all of those things that you need to do to meet that goal.
Okay. Shares information about club activities. That is the job of the secretary. Secretaries have to be really good communicators. They might be asked to help the president. They might be able to help the publicity director. They might be asked to help the treasurer or other members of the club keep everybody informed about what's going on. Some clubs have communication directors or publicity directors, and those people can work very closely with the secretary as well. You may have someone who's in charge of social media who communicates via Facebook to your members or Instagram or Snapchat or all kinds of membership apps that you can share. Things like WhatsApp is another one. But secretaries really are top-notch communicators in the club.
Definitely. All right, prepares yearly point report, which is due May 15th. That one is the point director. The point report may have given that away. So at the end of the year, you're going to have this big report that the point director, the president, and the sponsor will work on together. And in this report, you are going to list every activity that your club did, the percentage of participation that your club had in this activity, and then the number of points that will be awarded for that participation. And we'll go into that in more detail here in just a little bit. But this report is due May 15th to the Keisha office. And it is really important to keep close track of all of that participation so that when you get to this yearly point report, you can breeze right through it.
Yeah. Hannah's right. If you keep up to date on it as you go, it's so much easier to put together in the end. The next statement helps collect conference fees. This is the treasurer. When it's time for regional conference or unit conference, clubs do pay to be able to attend that. It's $10 per delegate for a regional conference, and it's $3 per delegate at a unit conference. And the treasurer can help collect those monies and make sure that the money gets where it needs to go so that everyone is paid up for the conference on time.
All right, writes and sends thank you notes to speakers and other program participants. This is for our secretaries. So one of the really key things that we talk about in KAY is appreciation. It's one of our big things that we talk about at camp every year, and it's so important to show appreciation for those who have helped you and who have supported you. So when you have a speaker come out or someone else help you with a program, please write those people the thank you note. And a handwritten note always says way more than an email or a text or anything like that. Find some fun stationery for your club, but thank you notes are the job of the secretary.
All right. This person makes sure that club dues are sent to Keisha by October 15th. And this is the job of the treasurer. October 15th is the deadline. The membership report will tell you how much money you're supposed to send. It's an interactive report. But you have to pay $2 per delegate to the KAY office at Keisha. Many clubs have members pay a few more dollars than this so that they can build their own club treasury, but only $2 goes to the Keisha office each year.
Submits club goals to Keisha by October 15th. This is a job for the point director. So as we talked about, you're going to have a goal for your club, an award to attain, either the red, blue, or gold award. And you are going to make a note of that and let the KAY office at Keisha know what goal you are going for. And you might have noticed that October 15th and May 15th are very important days. The 15th is the day to remember when submitting forms for KAY.
Okay. This person helps publicize KAY events in local newspapers. And this is the secretary. There are news releases in the KAY handbook, which is available online. And all you have to do as the secretary is fill out the top part of that news release telling who attended whatever the event was. Maybe it was a regional conference or a unit conference, or it was KAY leadership camp. But it's really good to publicize the things that your club does in your local newspaper. And it may be hard to do. A lot of cities don't have, or small towns in Kansas don't have local newspapers anymore that publish regularly. But you may have some kind of a Facebook page for your town that you could publicize things, or there may be a community newsletter that's put out somehow that you could get information in. But it's always good to let your community members see the good things that KAY is doing in your community. And this is part of what the secretary does in his or her role.
And finally, it reminds the club to remember service is the focus. I don't know if you can get this one. It is the treasurer. So KAY is first and foremost a service organization. We can provide services through raising money, but there is so much you can do without raising money. It's actually recommended by the KAY office to do fundraising no more than 2 times a year. You'll be asking the same people for money over and over again, and you won't get as much. And as we said, it is a service organization first, and there are so many things you can do that require no money whatsoever. So please make sure you remind your club that service comes first.
And if you're having trouble thinking of ideas, take a look at the KAY handbook, because there are lots of service project ideas listed in that handbook. And you may decide that you keep doing the same thing over and over in your club. So take a look at that to see if there's something new, something that you'd like to try you've never done before.
All right, so right here, we have a sample agenda. This is super bare bones, very simple. So secretaries, when you start a meeting, you will have this agenda. You'll notice that you need to have the date on it, because if you take notes for every meeting, you're gonna wanna make sure you know which meeting the notes are from. In this, we have the call to order by the president and the KAY pledge. And then you'll notice number 3, attendance and minutes from previous meeting by the secretary. So this is where the secretary could go over things that were discussed in the previous meeting, and also take attendance for the members or board members or whoever you're meeting with who are in attendance and not there. Again, that's very important when you're talking about points. We have an old business section where you would talk about things from previous meetings and follow up on them. An example would be maybe in October, you go over your membership drive, talk about what worked, talk about goals for next year with it, and anything that you've discussed at previous meetings. There's also a new business section, which is where you would discuss things that are new, things that you have not talked about yet. So maybe that same October meeting, you would start talking about Citizenship Week. And we have adjournment. Now in this meeting also, you would need to find a place for your treasurer to make a fund report and your point director to make a point report, because it's very important to keep your members and your board up to date on both of those. And that kind of depends on the club or the board that you're working with. A lot of times that happens after attendance, but make sure you find a place for that to happen in your agenda. So we have the same agenda here, but it has been filled out with minutes. So the agenda is in black and the minutes are in blue. So this is a meeting from the Disney High School KAY Club. And you'll notice that every time a note is taken, the name of the person who is involved is written down. So if Mickey is the president, Mickey calls the meeting to order. In attendance, Donald, who is our secretary, goes over things that were discussed at the previous meeting and takes attendance of who is there and who is not there. In old business, we have virtual KLC reports by Mickey and Minnie and a summary of what they talked about. The same thing with the membership drive by Ariel. The new business, Tiana is going to talk about the very first service project of the year. And we have, again, a summary of what Tiana talks about. And then the goals for the coming school year by Mickey. And you'll notice that everybody who had a goal and shared it, their name is down. So that if maybe in the future, if you want to know more about it, if you want to go back and say, okay, you know, I remember you said this, can you elaborate some more? You know who to go to instead of, well, someone said it, I don't remember who. So you don't have to say word for word what's happening, but they do need to be detailed and they do need to be thorough. And then we have Mickey adjourning the meeting. So finally, on our secretary, we have KAY forms. This section is in section 8 of the KAY handbook, which is online. In this section 8 will be a membership form. And that will be something that the sponsor, secretary, and president work to fill out, where you'll fill out all of your members' names from your membership drive and any other information, and that will go to the Keisha office. And that's that really important October 15th date. And there's also, as Trish mentioned earlier, news releases in there, pre-typed and everything, that you can submit to your local papers, or maybe even maybe if your school has a paper that you do, or something online, any sort of news release. As mentioned, the membership form is online, as well as the goal sheet, and those go to Keisha. When you get that membership form in, you'll receive an email with an invoice for the amount your club owes in dues to the Keisha office. And so that will be something you need to get to the treasurer. And so then we can handle the $2 per club member.
It's all about communication. I'm hoping that you see there's a lot of talk between the secretary and the treasurer and the point director, because they work together on a lot of different things. So the treasurer, yeah, lots of things. There's a lot of talk back and forth, and always keeping your sponsor in the loop for sure. But the treasurer, if you have not had a chance to look at the KAY handbook, you're going to want to do that. And you're going to want to look specifically at section 5 of that handbook, because in that section, it talks about planning for fundraising and other financial projects, gives you ideas. But remember, like Hannah said earlier, fundraising is not the main goal. It's a service organization. Yes, you're going to need some funds in order to do service projects. And yes, sometimes you may just want to donate money. But you also need to really think about what kinds of ways you can work together in your club to provide service to someone else. Are there things that you can do for people? Can you babysit during parent-teacher conferences for the parents of young children? Can you rake leaves for elderly people? Can you deliver May Day baskets? We saw wonderful May Day, K-Day projects that were posted online this spring. So think about the ways that you can provide service to others, not just fundraising, but fundraising are in section 5. The other thing that you have to think about is that membership form and goal sheet, because you're going to work with the secretary and the point director to make sure that that form is completed and that club dues are paid on time.
Right, then we have our point director, who's in charge of awards, club goals, and points. This is the most unique position to a KAY board, and therefore we need to go over a lot of information about it. So again, that KAY handbook, so important. Section 7 is all about the points.
And if you were the point director, I would do one of two things. I would either save section 7 so that you can go back and look at it anytime you need to, because there are going to be pages in that section you'll need to refer back to quite frequently. You might even just want to print those pages. I'm kind of old that way. I like to have a hard copy in my 3-ring notebook of things that I go to a lot. So I would print those tables and I would keep them right there in front of me, because you will go back and forth to those as you fill things out throughout the year.
Definitely, there's so much information on them. As discussed earlier, we have the red, blue, and gold awards in KAY that you can go for, and they all have different requirements. A special note, we need to make sure if you're going for the gold award this year, there's a change in the requirements for camp attendance since camp is virtual. So please make sure you check those requirements if you are going.
And the handbook, right, Hannah, the handbook is up to date too. I looked at it and made sure, and it is up to date. But if you've done the gold award before and you know you have to send so many people to camp, that's not the same this year. So be sure to look at it.
In section 7, you're going to find directions for keeping club points. You'll find sample point reports and point appraisal charts, and we're going to go over that in more detail now. So here is an example of a point appraisal chart. You'll notice that this is for school service. This is page 3 of section 7. So this shows a bunch of different examples of school service projects that you can do, from having a bulletin board, donating books to the library, providing entertainment at lunchtime, all of these things. And then you'll notice to the right, there are columns of numbers under points for participation, points for percent of participation, lots of P's there. And there's different percentages that you will use there. This is why it's so important to make sure you keep track of the attendance and participation at all activities, because you will need to figure your club participation in order to find your point value for each activity. So we are going to actually practice that now. All right, so let's say that your club decided to dust trophies and shelves in the gym's trophy case, which is number, oh, I lost it. Number 5 on this point appraisal chart.
And what you find on the appraisal chart, Hannah, it might not be exactly what you did, right?
Yes, exactly.
Close.
Close. Something
Okay.
something very similar.
Okay.
So let's say that you dusted those trophies and you had 15 members attend that activity. You have 72 members in your club total. So to find your participation, you need to take the number of members that attended and divide it by the number of members in your club. So 15 divided by 72. And that will give you your decimal, which is your percentage when you multiply it by 100. So
Right.
go ahead and do that math real quick. And you will find 21% is your percentage. Now, if you look under your percentages in the columns, 21% falls in that 1 to 24%, which means your club will be awarded 25 points for that particular service project. Let's do one more. Let's say that you set up a table of arts and crafts for kids at conferences. You have 25 members that came to help and 32 members in your club total. So again, you'll take that 25 divided by 32 and then multiply it by 100 to get your percentage. And you should get 78%. So you'll look, and that is from the 75 to 100% range, which means you will earn 150 points for that activity. You can see why the more club participation you have, the more points you get, and you definitely want that. Now, like Trish said, not everything will be on these appraisal charts. There's a lot of them, and they fall under all the different areas of service, but not everything you do will be on there, and that's okay. If you find something that is really similar, that works. If you did something that's just unique and you can't find anything close to it, then you need to email Cheryl and Lindsay in the KAY office with a very detailed description of your project and the percentage of members that you had participate, and they will email you back with an appropriate point total for that activity.
Or they may just steer you toward a category. They may just say, go ahead and count that as school service. It's kind of like good grooming, so you can figure it that way. But they will provide advice if you need some help. One of the things that I really like about this points system is that it doesn't matter how big your club is. You can have a very small club and still earn lots of points. You can have a very large club and still earn lots of points. It's all about how many people participate out of your group. It's not about how big your group is to start with. So everybody's on an equal playing field. Big clubs and small clubs, it's all the same. It's about getting members to participate and join in the fun and do those service projects.
And then making sure that you also communicate with your club how they're doing on the points. So you'll see a couple of different options out there. There's some ideas in the KAY handbook, but you need to make sure that you have a system to keep track of all of these points. That system may be a Google Sheets or an Excel spreadsheet. I think that might be one of the easiest ways, or you could do it by hand in a notebook. But you need to make sure that you have a running total going at all times. So when your president or your sponsor says, hey, how are we doing on points? Okay, well, we have this many points in each of these categories. And you might find other ways to communicate that with your club as well, because your club members are just as invested in this process as you are.
Right.
And it's so important for you to keep them in the loop about how many points that you have, how many points you have. So like Trish was saying earlier, a lot of clubs do kind of a thermometer where they fill it up and it's a visual representation. Or maybe you have your own percentages of the number of points you need in each system or in each area of service. Anything like that to share that. And you can do this, you can also share via social media. If you want to give updates, you could do it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or all the other social media things that I don't even know about anymore. Because I'm getting old.
Yeah, Hannah mentioned keeping it in a Google Sheet. If you did that and you shared that Google Sheet with your secretary and both of you had access to that sheet, the secretary could do the attendance for you in the sheet And then you would know how many people, and you would just be able to calculate the point totals. So there again, communication is really important. And these three offices do a lot of things together. So make sure that you're talking and thinking and planning about how you want to keep track of these points with everybody else, because they might have some good ideas for how you can collaborate to make this an easier process for everybody.
Definitely. Definitely. It's all about the communication in every office.
So as you can see, the secretary and the treasurer and the point director, they're important cogs in this machine. And when everybody communicates with one another clearly, when everybody is working toward the same common goal, this machine can be very well oiled and can work very, very smoothly. It takes everybody working together to make this KAY club of yours a success. So Hannah and I want to say good luck to you. Have a wonderful KAY year. It may be an interesting KAY year, given our current situation with COVID, but there's one thing I am certain of, and that is that the leaders here in Kansas in our KAY clubs will figure out a way to continue to serve others, no matter what the restrictions are. You will find a way to make it work.
This is our time to show everything that KAY members are capable of and what this organization teaches us and how we can persevere through any situation. Remember that if you have any questions about any of these positions, you can always feel free to email the Keisha office or to email Trish or I or any member of the staff with any questions that you have. We'd be more than happy to help you.
Yep. Have a super year.
An awesome year.